Okay, hello and welcome everyone. Welcome to JFD Traders Tea Time with me, Darius Anucauskas. Today is the 7th of May 2019, so welcome everyone. Welcome to this Tuesday's afternoon session where we're going to have a look at the markets, a few of the charts, the usual stuff. But before we do that, as always, let's quickly have a read through our risk disclaimer. So, the content we produce does not constitute investment advice or investment recommendation, should not be considered as such, and does not in any way constitute an invitation to acquire any financial instrument or product. As always, a few seconds for you to read the rest, and we can continue. Okay, so now then, let's quickly jump into the charts. Now, the first one I want to touch on here is the S&P500. Now, yesterday the U.S. equity markets had not a bad run. Let's put it that way. But still kind of managed to close slightly below the opening price. So. But as you can see here, you can see that looking at this chart here, you can see that well, I do apologize actually. I mean, I'm looking at one sources and some of them are telling me that they were closed, but anyway, what's happening here basically, the S&P 500 managed to travel back above its upside support line, this tentative upside support line taken from the lows of the 8th of March, and it's trying to push higher, but kind of ended slightly above its 21 EMA here, looking at the 4-hour chart. That said, looking at the cash index right now, I mean, we're seeing a bit of a slide, and we're seeing that the cash index was already trading near the 2906, something like that, approximately there. So in a way, what we could see here is a bit of a gap here, a lower open today. And now we're not gonna take this all this as a bearish signal, because for us, let's say, to turn negative on S&P, we would, at least in the short run, we would like to see a drop below the initially, of course, below the 2900 level, but for better confirmation, a break below this little area here near the 2892. This is where it could become a little bit more interesting for the sellers, for the bears, as this could potentially lead towards further declines towards the 2873, or even actually going further down. Now, in terms of lower levels, I mean, we do have some good potential areas here, like the 2860 zone, approximately there. Good potential target near the 100 EMA could be that nice good target here. But again, in order to kind of consider all these lower levels, we need to see a nice good drop below the 2892. So for now, guys, the way the equity markets are trading, it's not really looking that promising. I mean, unless we see the indices traveling back towards its all-time highs, here the previous all-time highs, and breaking above the 2953, 2054 level, something like that, and this only then we will consider much higher areas. I mean, the index could travel into this new uncharted territory, but for now, guys, this is where it is. We are going to remain somewhat neutral, just continue observing its key support and resistance levels, and by the support and resistance levels, I mean these right here, on the upside the 2954, and on the downside the 2892 levels. So keep your eyes on those. Jumping into one index I really wanted to quickly show you guys, and that's CAC40. So the French index, basically it's currently balancing near its key area of support here at 5,435 levels. So keep your eyes on this one. As you can see, previously it acted as a very good area of support. Let's see if it actually manages to close below the 5,435 level. If it does, then well, this could turn out to be quite ugly for the index, as we could see this one sliding further down. And let's not forget, it's already trading below this tentative upside support line taken from the low of December last year. So for now, guys, of course, all this is shaping up towards the downside, but before we could consider further declines, we need to see a nice good close below the 5,435 level. So keep your eyes on this index. Very interesting developments here. In case this decides to reverse back up here and travels back above the 5,492 level, approximately there, then of course we could consider slightly higher levels. But to be honest, ideally we would like to see a push back above this upside support line, and only then we will target, of course we will target this little area here near the April highs, which is around the 5,600 level. But if that fails to withhold, then yep, further acceleration to the upside could be possible. But for now, again, the downside is slightly more possible scenario, but again, we need to wait for that confirmation break below the 5,435 level. Jumping into DXY here now, very quickly, I wanted to show you here, guys. So I've talked about this one in one of my previous videos last week, and basically you can see that it's kind of moving sideways right now, to be honest. And what's interesting here is that yes, it is still above this upside support line taken from the low of January this year, but this medium-term upside support line, of course, it continues to trade above it. But another thing here is that this index is still trading below this little tentative downside resistance line taken from the highest point of April. Now, of course, all this now creates this kind of coiling up scenario here. We're gonna continue observing this symmetrical triangle, if we can call it that way, and we're gonna wait for a break of through this triangle, through the upper side of this triangle, or through the lower one. And I do understand that that's kind of a more of a long-term, kind of from the long-term perspective, if we want to consider a certain directional move in the long term. But from the very short-term perspective, you can see that it's trying to push higher. It's pushing away from this 97.40 level approximately here, and it's now kind of aiming for the yesterday's highs, and which were near the 97.70. Slightly above that, we do have the 97.85, a good potential target here, and again, it looks at slightly above that, we do have this downside resistance line. So in a way, we could see this one traveling further up, but then again, the upside could be limited a little bit here, and we could keep an eye on this downside resistance line here, or the upper side of this symmetrical triangle, and then we'll just wait and see what it wants to do with it. If it wants to break above it, then that's great news for the bulls. We could see the index traveling further up here, maybe even actually going all the way towards the April highs. But for now, we probably could expect this one to kind of move inside this triangle. So initially, of course, from the very short-term perspective, we're gonna target slightly higher levels, at least towards maybe the 97.85, but then we'll just take it carefully, because if it fails to drive above this downside resistance line, then we may see another leg of selling, and maybe even actually which could potentially maybe lead towards the this test of the medium-term upside support line that I was talking about. So keep your eyes on this one, guys. A very interesting developments here, and let's see how this is going to play out further. Ethereum, very quick mention of this one. I've talked about Ethereum last week, and what I said was that to keep a close eye on this basically downside resistance line, and this potential formation of the kind of the descending triangle formation here. And also what I was saying, that we do get sometimes breaks of descending triangles, breaks to the upside, even though the textbooks kind of state that it should potentially break to the downside. But as you can see, this is what happened here. So we managed to break it to the upside. We broke above this key 168 level. Also, I was talking about this one, and it kind of found resistance near the 177 zone, well, slightly above that, to be honest, 180 zone, but this is what we're going to be keeping close eye on. So right now what we could see happening here is something like this. Basically, we could see maybe a bit of retracement, and we could see maybe a test of the 168, maybe 170 level. And if it continues to hold, if this area around the 170, 168 levels continues to hold, then we could see another leg of buying where potentially the bulls could drive this one back above this 177 level, back above the 180 zone, and maybe this time targeting the April highs again. So good potential scenario here could be if we see a nice retracement back down, but if the crypto kind of fails to drop below the 168 zone. If it does drop here below that, and let's say travels back below this downside resistance line, now this is where probably the upside could be slightly off the table in the from the short-term perspective, and we could then maybe target the 150, the psychological 150 level for a potential test. But for now, everything's looking quite positive for Ethereum, even though it decides to retrace a little bit lower. Like I said, the bulls might pick up on the lower price and push this one back up again. So keep your eyes on this one. Jumping into EURGBP very quickly, just a quick update on what's happening here. So I've talked about this one this morning, and I was telling you guys to keep a close eye on the 0.8555 level. So we had a nice break here, and it now seems to be the pair now seems to be kind of holding its path towards slightly higher levels. And by higher levels, I mean this 50 EMA here shown as the red line, and slightly above that we do have this 0.8590 level, good potential area for resistance. You can see that previously it acted as a good area of resistance here on the 2nd of May, and also it took its role as support on the 10th of April and also on the 7th of April. So for now, guys, keep your eyes on this. Of course, this is looking quite positive right now, but if this decides to suddenly drop back down below the 0.8555 level, this is going to be our little neutral territory here between the 0.8555 and the 0.8530, because in order to consider lower areas, we would like to see a drop below the 0.8530 first, and then we will target these recent lows, sorry, or should I say the Monday lows here, which are near the 0.8490. But again, for now, like I said, for now it seems to be more positive than negative. NZDUSD, very quickly on this one, something for you guys to keep an eye on tonight. So we do have the RBNZ rate decision, and for now the expectation is for a cut. So, and if we do see that cut, we may see the NZD selling off sharply. And basically, looking at this chart right now, you can see that the NZDUSD is stuck here between these two levels here, approximately between the 0.6570 sorry, 0.6580 zone on the downside, and on the 0.6680 on the upside. Now we're gonna wait for this one. If this decides to drop below this of course below the 0.6580, this would confirm a forthcoming lower low, and we could see this one further sliding further towards the 0.6535, which previously acted as a good area of support here back in the past. And just to show you what that level was here, this was the high, it was the high of the 11th of October. So basically good potential target. The next one in line could be this little low here near the 0.6513. So for now, guys, of course the downside is possible, but we'll wait for that confirmation break here, and of course we'll see how what's going to be the decision on the RBNZ rate, interest rate. In terms of the upside, well, you could look at this little area of resistance here near the 0.6630. A nice good push above that could lead the pair towards slightly higher levels, towards the 0.6665, or even actually this upper side of this little range that I was talking about at 0.6680. But again, in order to consider that level, we need to see a nice good push above the 0.6630 level first. So keep your eyes on this, guys, and be very careful with this one, and have have your stop loss in place. Another very interesting pair that will be probably interesting to trade after the RBNZ interest rate decision, that's going to be the GBPNZD. So as you can see right now, it's traveling lower. It's testing this key area of support here near the 1.978085. If this gets broken, we may see a further slide lower. The only thing is that it does have some good potential areas of support here. I mean, initially we'll target this 21 EMA here on the 4-hour chart, shown as the yellow line. Then we'll see how it's going to perform around there, because another good potential support zone could be seen here near the 1.9715 zone, approximately there. So keep your eyes on this one. It acted as a good area of resistance here in between 1st of May and the 3rd of May. But if this, of course, starts failing and we see the pair breaking below it, then yep, further declines could be possible towards the 1.9620 or even lower. But for now guys, of course, be very careful with this one. Also keep an eye on the RBNZ interest rate decision. If we do get it cut, then we may see GBPNZD actually reversing sharply and pushing higher again. So, and this is where we will of course target the last week's highs near the 1.9915 area, approximately there. If that gets broken, then yep, this would confirm a forthcoming higher high, and we could maybe target even the nice psychological 2 levels. So keep your eyes on that one, guys. Okay guys, I hope you found it useful. Thank you very much for watching and listening, and if you want to join me tomorrow morning at my Traders Espresso, and that's 6 o'clock GMT time. But for now, I hope you have a wonderful evening, and I'll see you later. Bye bye.